This is Jonathan Agger, Fit for Pro Boxing Fans, joined by Adam Smith. We've just seen Josh Taylor retain his undisputed crown with a split decision win over Jack Catterall. Adam, your immediate reaction to that, please?
I thought it was a very bad decision. Look, I'm a massive Josh Taylor fan, and I've adored working with him, and he's back on Sky, and I think he's proved himself as an elite fighter and pound for pound amongst the very best. And I sat up there with him tonight where he said he won the fight. I don't agree. It's not my decision. It's the three judges at ringside's decision. But when everybody around me at ringside, and I'm guessing online and at home, sort of think the same way, it wasn't as though people thought it was 1 or 2 rounds either way. Everyone I spoke to, from Barry Jones to Spencer Oliver to Matt Macklin, to people that I respect hugely for the way they score fights, and occasionally you can get differences and rounds can be close, but they all had it to Jack by 4 or 5 rounds pretty much. I thought there was 1 or 2 close rounds, but 10-8 round, he won 4 or 5 of the first 6. I mean, it's a very hard fight to give Josh anything out of it at all. I mean, a draw, I think, would have been wrong anyway, but for Jack Catterall not to win tonight, I thought was absolutely terrible. I thought he boxed really well. I thought he got into a rhythm quickly, and Josh just wasn't there tonight. He was probably weight drained, he was frustrated, he was not flowing. It was Jack who flowed, Jack who put Jamie and Nigel's tactics in perfectly. He, especially for the first sort of 6 to 8 rounds, there was times where Josh came back a little bit, and some of the rounds were difficult to score, but not all of them. And I was absolutely stunned at the verdict. I think it was a terrible decision. As much as I love Josh Taylor, I'm going to disagree with him hugely on it. I've got an immense amount of respect for what he went through in there, the fact that he tried everything he could, but it wasn't his night. It was Jack Catterall's night, and he should be the world champion. He should be the unified, undisputed champion. He came here as a massive underdog. He came here into the cauldron, and he boxed the best fight of his life. And to have nothing to show from that, I feel for him, I feel for Jamie, I feel for the whole team. And again, as I said, it's nothing against Josh Taylor, because I'm a massive supporter of Josh Taylor, but he didn't win the fight tonight for me.
Jack scored the knockdown in the 8th round. Like you say, most people had him dominating a lot of the rounds. Obviously, Josh came back into it, but 114, 111 to Josh Taylor, seemed ridiculous. Can anything be done?
Was that Ian John Lewis?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, I think, and he was sitting in front of us, and he had the same view we did.
Can something be done about this judging situation?
I mean, as I've always said, it's subjective. Okay, sometimes you can look at a fight and you can see, and if you see 3 or 4 rounds differently, it can go one way than the other. But the fact is that I was commentating with Hannah Rankin, who's the other Scottish champion, and she saw it to Jack Catterall by a considerable distance. So did Matt Macklin, who's been scoring and commentating on fights for years. So did Barry Jones, one of the best analysts in the business behind us. Everybody was saying it, and I think that I don't understand it. I just thought it was a wonderful night for Jack Catterall, but I said to Matt when they were taking a long time with the cards, I said, you never know, and it's not up to us, it's up to the 3 judges. It's not up to us to control the 3 judges, that's a British board thing. If Robert Smith doesn't agree with the verdict, he needs to go and sit the judges down and maybe watch it back and explain what they did. We make mistakes, and we learn, and we try and get better each and every time, if it's in production, if it's in delivering fights, if it's the right fights, the wrong fights. We got criticised to the undercard last week. I put my hand up and said it wasn't a great card. A great main event wasn't a great card. We'll work on that. Well, okay, sure, the judges should say, okay, why did you score it like that when pretty much everybody didn't see that? I think, that's up to Robert to sit down with his people. I don't know how Robert scored the fight. I haven't spoken to him. But I know how everybody I have spoken to scored the fight, and not one person had Jack Catterall not in a massive lead. Certainly a 3, 4, 5 lead. And that's winning the fight convincingly.
It's really early to say, obviously we're in the immediate aftermath, but where do you think now both men go? Obviously Josh is going to move up, and where is it for Jack Catterall?
I'll throw it back to you, John. If you found one person outside Team Taylor that think Josh Taylor won that fight? No. So I think we've got our answer, and I don't like criticising fighters who go through that. He has a homecoming, he had pressure on him, all of that, understand that. And as I said, Josh Taylor is one of the big things about Top Rank and Josh Taylor coming to Sky was I was desperate for Josh Taylor to come to Sky, and I'm still desperate to keep Josh Taylor on Sky and going up to welterweight in the big fights, and I can't wait to see how he does. That doesn't mean that stepping away and being independent like we always are, we don't see what we see, and that was, for me, that was a very bad decision tonight, and we've seen a lot of them. I think he has to go up in weight. And I think, listen, he'll be a force at welterweight, no question. But more importantly, I want to know about Jack Catterall. You know, he stormed out the place. He must be absolutely heartbroken. I'll try and see him in the hotel afterwards and just tell him, look, you know, this is what we felt, and stick at it, because he's waited. Like Josh Taylor's had other fights. He's waited 3 years for this opportunity, and he's thought about is Josh Taylor. And in many ways, maybe they were more prepared, Jamie and Nigel, because they concentrated on one guy for so long, and they got it right. And they didn't get the decision. And that's not good for boxing.
Just want to touch on the undercard. We saw Nick Campbell become Scottish heavyweight champion, beating Jay McFarlane. What did you make of his performance?
I thought it was an entertaining sort of scrap. I mean, it was a very strange night, really, because you had the sort of high-class boxing of Ramirez and Nick Campbell, who's obviously a novice, against Jay McFarlane with a very bizarre display. But it was, look, it's a novice heavyweight fight, and congratulations to Nick for seeing it out. He was hurt a little bit to the body. Jay was game, and it was fun to watch, wasn't it? And the 6th round was a really good round, but you know, it was a poor level. You know, if you compare it to, I mean, it is what it is. It's a novice level. It's Scottish heavyweights. They haven't contested the Scottish heavyweight title for 70 years. You know, you're not expecting them to be these fantastic heavyweights overnight. They're learning. But it was a good fight for Nick Campbell. He got through a problem, and he came out and he put some nice punches together, and he got through it, and he won the Scottish heavyweight title. So well done for him.
Adam Smith, appreciate you talking to Pro Boxing Fan.